Hi everybody. We are live. Everything's working. I definitely didn't leave the mic unmuted. Nah, you're good. I would never leave the mic unmuted for the entire first intro to the stream. Well, welcome to the CSU bike stream. Today we're gonna be watching a Valorant match between Mizz and CSU. CSU has been going crazy lately in Valorant. They are, I think, undefeated in NACE. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they're undefeated so far. Yeah, I think they are. Anyways, yeah, there's going to be a lot of back and forth here. I see one very familiar name on Mizz, Bubs. I'm pretty sure he was on the Overwatch team yesterday. I could be wrong. But we will see how this pans out. We see Cross getting to actually see the game instead of just hovering behind everybody. As we will tab over the game real quick. Gonna type in a little. And it seems like we're getting right into it with a character select screen. So, Bind is an interesting map. CSU is going to start off on defense on all 3 maps today. And Bind is a fun one. Bind is a very defensive heavy map. It can kind of have big swings in momentum based on how much you can do in attack. And it can be really demoralizing going on attack first because sometimes you get a 12-0 half. And it's still winnable, which is crazy enough to say just because it's such a defensive heavy map. But we'll see what these team comps come out with. The Viper is a bit of a weird pick. I do know that in Pro League she's had to get played a lot more on Bind. But I personally don't think that she's a great pick on Bind because you really don't need all those smokes. There's really 4 main choke points. And typically, like, just a normal smokes like Brimstone or something like that can cover all of it. But I'm in plat for a reason. We will see. It seems like CSU is already locked in their comp. This is the same comp we've seen CSU play every time they play Bind now. And they have a very strong Bind. So they've got the Brimstone on both teams. Fade on both teams. Both those pretty standard picks. And instead of running a Sentinel, they're deciding to run a Viper. And they're running double Initiator, double Controller, and a Duelist. Which is really switching things up. This enables a lot more play that, like, slower play. To allow the team to, like, take space very slowly. Kind of create a lot of confusion with all these smokes. Oh. Alright, we see exquisitely Leanne having the Tactibear flex, which is very important, you know. Camino still running that Battle Pass knife. Don't know why he does. He is doing kind of a standard Cypher setup at the moment. That trip, very normal, unbreakable trip on Hookah. This is kind of the standard one for long. And now we're going to see some early aggression coming out from Wyu and... Oh, Leon getting picked off immediately in A main. Not a great start for them, because now they have no smokes, and now they're going to have to play defense with no smokes, which just makes it very hard. Now, Camino does have 1 smoke available, his cage, but that does not last for nearly long enough for it to really impact the fight. But you can see that Mizz is slowly starting to make their way up. They are kind of gathering around Fountain here, trying to gather some information. They do not have a lot of map control right now. But it seems like they're not really going to care about map control, and they're just going to push their way up Fountain. They're pushing their way up along. Garden is, going to be in complete control of them. Camino gets a nice pick off on Bubs. But now CSU does not have information that they're hitting B site. Camino might have some noise. Hear some noise. It seems he does hear the noise. He will hear the plant. Now CSU is going to start converging on this location. CSU all coming from the flank. And now we see YU's about to take a fight with Panda. Pete comes out. No real happenstance here. And now fight's coming either way. Both coming out on top for CSU. The Camino's gonna try and stick for a point. He does get it halved. Does not trust his teammate, but gets the kill anyways. Sometimes when you're defusing the bomb like that, you just gotta take things into your own hand. And so now we're going up 1-0 for CSU. And we're going to see how CSU can bring this home. It is Camino's buying an Outlaw, which does make a lot of sense. They're most likely not going to have heavy shields on this round, and if they do, then they typically set themselves up for failure later in the game. 2 Outlaws coming out for both the duelists from CSU. And now we can see if Mizz can make anything out of this. We see a big scam by Fade, getting 3 of them. And now YU getting aggressive with this Outlaw, getting 1 pick and then getting out. And now they see that North is hiding in this smoke, but they're not going to be able to capitalize on that. And now they're backing up, holding that space in long, but not really doing much with it. Now a lot of tension happening here on long, and they're teleporting over, and now A side's going to be rushed. Now, what is Leon going to do? He's got a Bucky. Not seen very much in higher levels of play, but one of my favorite guns to use. And exclusively getting the pick off on Mizz Bubs. And so now they're slowing it down again. They do have a lot of smokes to work with, which means they do have a lot of space that they can make. But CSU is completely ready for this A hit, and there's 4 of them here. It's going to be a 3v4 on site. North holding this close angle, which is something that you often don't see, especially on buy rounds when the enemies have pistols. Because if they get this gun, it is a way to swing the round back. But it seems like he's going to back up a bit. Panda's trying to take that aggressive angle. Both 2 players getting picked off with Outlaw. And you see YU bunny hopping around while North gets the kill. Very clean round from CSU there. Now we're going to see Camino buys a rifle instantly. No hesitation there at all. They have extra guns to pass to him. Like they have an extra sheriff, they have an extra ghost. But he's buying a rifle. Which is interesting to see. He will still have enough to buy next round, as you get 1900 for a loss on your first loss bonus. And so with 2000, you have 3900, which is exactly enough to buy a rifle and heavy armor, or a rifle, light armor, and 600 of abilities. And it seems like they're trying to poke into B main here, trying to see if they can maybe catch something. They do trade 1 for 1, which, when CSU is down in guns, that is typically advantageous. You see YU taking a fight, backing out, and now Explicitly is alone here. But Camino's getting in there quickly, able to help. Does get nice damage off. Camino gets a pick with that rifle. Having that rifle is huge. YU getting another pick. Camino getting a second pick. And now it is up to a 1v3 from Bubs. Bubs does get that early pick off on YU and is backing out. Gonna have a lot of time to work with. 55 seconds left. Can YU do much with that time though? As you can see, both the CSU players having rifles at the moment. They do not have information on where the Viper player is, but there's only so much you can do. Now, Camino is on 1 HP. He is crouched at an off angle, so it will be very hard for Bubs to win this. But fighting that first shot does give his position away, and now it's just up to a 1v1 between Leanne and Bubs. Both of them launching their mollies off. Is there much that Bubs can even do here, as Leanne backs all the way out. He's trying to wrap through long. Bubs is faking the plant in tube and peeking out. Now, where is Bubs going to plant? Bubs going to plant back site. Now, it's 1v1 retake for Leanne. Misses a couple shots. Gets a little bit of damage through the wall. Only 6 bullets left. Aims for the head and gets it on the last bullet. Amazingly played by Leanne. And that is pushing CSU into winning the bonus round. Sometimes you don't need a lot of kills, you just need those kills to be high impact. And that one kill was a very high impact play, having them win the bonus round, and now Mizz is probably forced to save again. Looks like they're going to do a little bit with some stingers and some sheriffs, but forced into saving is going to be what should be a fairly easy round for CSU. Now, sheriffs are very dangerous. Sheriffs can one-tap to the head between, I think, 30 meters or less, which means sometimes they're just as dangerous as a rifle. And you see, they're trying to take a lot of space into showers, while Viper slowly pushes up into main. Just kind of hold that space. Same with Brimstone's holding that space on long. And yeah, they're just holding the shower smoke, hoping that CSU will do something aggressive, hoping that they can get some kind of information, some kind of pick off. Because if they can get a pick, they can get a rifle. And again, one rifle is all it really takes to swing momentum. And now we see not a lot of contact happening. A lot of space being held on both sides. Brimstone on Mizz are trying to back up to get back to playing with the team. And it looks like Exclusively is about to face the wrath of 3 Mizz players funneling out of showers. And you see the Skydog coming in, the Fate, almost everything's coming in. Exclusively does get picked off there. And now it is just up to the Brimstone and Camino on site. Camino gets 2, Camino gets 3. Camino tries to get a 4th, but unfortunately cannot. And now it is a 3v2. Camino doing exactly what he needed to do in that position to hold CSU into this round. Now the 1, 2, 3 into the smoke. Big flash out. YU gets 1. And then, oh, but B-Dog gets 3 to bring it back for Mizz. Very well played in terms of positioning for B-Dog. Perfectly positioned right in between that wall to make it so that way they couldn't be peeked by both players. And then just won both as 1v1s. And sometimes a player just wins both their 1v1s. And now, economy's not looking great for CSU. They're forced onto sheriffs. They will have 1 rifle to their name. That 1 rifle being on the Brimstone. But is CSU going to expect on the buy round that they're going to have 5 players pushing into them? And it seems like they are not. And now, can Leon do much against this entire team of players? Trying to hold this position, and take some space in the Viper ult. Unfortunately, cannot do that. Gets picked off, and is just up to Exquisitely. Has just a sheriff. And now, we've seen Exquisitely do crazier things, but unfortunately, it will not be like that today. And Mizz doing a good job bringing this back. Camino 7-3 already, which he is a Cypher playing on bind on defense. But we'll see if CSU can keep holding this lead. The economy looking greatly in favor of Mizz. Ult's looking slightly better for CSU, where they had to use 2 ults last round, Mizz did, to bring that back. And using ults against a save round is a questionable choice. Because if you have the gun advantage, you don't necessarily need that to use ults. But seems like there's going to be a big fight happening down on long. Unless Mizz decides not to try and fight it. Seems like they're just trying to hold their space, see if CSU pushes out of that smoke at all. They're really holding that smoke, and I wonder if there's something that they saw in film of CSU trying to constantly push out of smokes. But from what I know, I don't think CSU tends to do that. It doesn't seem like the right play to do. But we will see what happens here, because almost everything is being held. They do see that there's a Skydog jumping onto B site. The Skydog does get broken. Leon getting a nice early pick. Now it's a 4v5. Now, they do not know about this Viper lurking on A site. Seems like they are going to rotate over, though. And Brimstone Molly pushes them back. And now there seems to be a fight that's about to happen in A main. We'll see as Bubs is slowly working his way up. Camino backing up a bit. He's getting forced out of this position. And now it's going to be up to Camino and NACE to try and hold this down. Camino does get picked off. NACE gets picked off. And now it is down to a 3v4. Early pick from Leanne, not really enough to hold it. And Exquisitely does get a nice pick, and so now YU's trying to get a little bit aggressive, does get a pick from it. B-Dog gets picked off by YU, and now they know that the last is showers, and they just gotta hold for him. Leanne trying to tap the spike and get a kill. Unfortunately cannot yet. Exquisitely now in a 1v1. And he's gonna know that the Viper back all the way up. And a nice pick by Exquisitely to finish it off. CSU really not doing a great job of holding that man advantage. They seem to be getting that man advantage and then kind of just giving them ones. Which is, when you are down in players, is exactly what you want. You want to be able to take those 1v1 fights. You don't want them to be swinging together, because if they're swinging together and you keep getting 1-for-1 trades, it's always going to go in favor of the team that has more players. So we will see if CSU can start adapting to that, or vice versa, if Mizz will start adapting to punishing that. Now, it seems like CSU is going to force up. They're going to have a Bulldog and a Judge for 2 of their weapons, which will make things a lot harder for them. Big fight happening immediately in showers. YU gets one and then gets picked off. And now, can Leon hold this with a Judge? We will see. B-Dog does pick off NACE on the other side. Camino gets a pick. Camino getting a lot pushed into him right now. But Bloom knows that there's at least one other person here. So is he just going to leave A site? Will he try and go for some big read? It seems like they're going to try and hold A site. They think that they're coming back to A site. But Camino knows that this guy is still here. Now, the weird thing about Long is that you can instantly transport to showers with that teleporter. So it is very hard for it to be even contestable. Camino throwing out a fake. They're gonna know that's on B site now. And Camino about to get ulted by that fade, which puts him in a very bad position. Camino getting forced back with the abilities with that flash, and now they're gonna do a 3v3 retake. Brim going through the teleporter. They're gonna know about the Brimstone because it makes a loud noise. Brim does ult him, but unfortunately a little bit too late until the spike still does get planted. And Exquisitely getting in there, getting a pick. But they do not have information on the other two. They pick off that, Camino gets the third, and Camino wins it for them. And this game really just seems like Camino decided that he doesn't want to lose it. Every time I think something's going bad, Camino comes back with a vengeance. Probably heard me talking about this Battle Pass knife skin that he uses and wants his revenge. Taking it out on the poor Mizz students. But, we will see what's gonna happen next. Because now, Mizz is on a full buy, and CSU on almost a full buy with 1 Spectre. And they're going to decide to stack B site, take a gamble here to stack B site, but unfortunately, it is not going to work out for them, as Camino is going to be run down with players here. Now, are they going to move fast enough for them to be able to get on site before CSU can rotate? And it seems like they are not moving quite fast enough for that to happen. Camino getting 1, YU getting a 2nd, Camino getting picked off, and now both YU and NACE are going to have to try and fight this. NACE having a stinger, so it's going to be harder for him. YU spamming through the smoke, not getting anything out of it. And now both the Brimstone and the Yoru are spamming through the smoke. And now it's a 1v4 for Mizz Bubs. And 1 HP, 1v3, does get the pick. And now, can they finish off Bubs in this position? Bubs is 1 HP, and YU does get the pick off. And so now CSU going into this on defense 6-2, getting a very healthy lead going. Probably feeling pretty good. But again, this is Bind, and this is also Valorant, which is very momentum based. And Bind being a very defensive map. Gotta be careful. And now, this play that CSU did last round, seems like Mizz was studying it. as it seems like they're gonna hold for it again, where they push out through the smoke. Seems like this must be a play that works a lot for them, and so they're trying to abuse that. And now CSU getting caught off guard with Leon getting a pick, Stim getting 2 against Leanne, and now Knot and YU are gonna have to try and hold this. While Camino's just sitting there on A site. Doesn't really seem like he can do much help. But Knot's in a little bit of a ratty spot. Now if Knot has enough trigger discipline, this may go very big for him. We can see that they don't have any information on them anymore. So Camino and YU, they're trying to get a read, thinking that maybe that they rotated back. And now Knot must have called something for them to come back, because both of them are rotating back. And unfortunately, Knot does get picked off. They do pick off Stim. Camino gets another, and now it's a 1v3 for 1v2 for YU. YU on 1 HP. This will be a very hard fight for them to take. Trying to just hold 2, but take a gamble that they're gonna push that side of 2 and not the close side. And you can see both of them just stacking up one over the other. And YU, if he takes this fight, it'll be a very hard fight to take. And he gets one, but cannot get the second. That was very well played by YU, but unfortunately, that when they stacked up like that, it is almost impossible to win those. And now, we can see, in terms of weaponry, still fairly even on both sides. CSU is, again, forced onto this, like, half-buy, where they've got 3 rifles, a Bulldog, which, Bulldog's still a headshot, body shot for a kill, at any range. And then a Judge, which, Leon's been running the Judge. I'm not sure if it's been working so far. They are gonna see that Yoru's here, and they do know that last time when the Yoru was here, they 5-man rushed it. So I wonder if they're gonna catch on to that again. Some spamming through the smoke happening, but nothing really coming out of either side of that. And now we can see Fade ult coming in. Yoru's gonna ult behind it. They're gonna be able to ping where the players are. With this Yoru ult to counter the Viper ult. And he does get one pick and then gets out. Gets picked off afterwards. And now Camino's gonna try and enter the Fade ult from the back. The Viper ult. And now it's just a 1v3 for the Viper. The ult does go down. And so now they have to try and play together. Bubs gets one, but exquisitely finishes it off, and that's a good trade for CSU. That round was very important for both teams, as if either team won that round, the other team's going to be forced onto a save. And now, this is looking very solid for CSU, because Mizz, assumingly, is going to save here, and then buy for last. But because of that, CSU is in a position where they can just roll through the rest of this half. It seems like Mizz is going to buy up, which is an interesting choice. That means if they lose this round, they will not have enough to fully buy next round. They're going to be doing 2 half buys in a row. But they are gambling on the A site, and it seems like CSU is not ready for this. They do have a Cypher setup there, which is very hard to push into, but CSU has just the Brimstone and the Cypher there, and they're getting pushed very hard. Can we see if Camino can do anything here to try and bring this back for CSU? Otherwise, they're just going to be playing 5v5 retake. CSU has control of U-Haul. Camino trying to get in, does get a pick when he gets in. The Fade ult coming in to try and stop Camino. He has a Stinger now. He dropped his Bulldog for a Stinger, just for ammo's sake. Camino and YU trying to push into here. Camino pushing in. Does not get a pick, gets picked off instead. And YU throwing the flash out, gets picked off. Leanne exclusively gets a pick. Leanne gets a pick. And NOS finishes it off for CSU. Great round for CSU, and this will kind of bring the momentum in for them winning the entire half. It'll be a buy for CSU and then a save for... I mean, there's no point in saving because it's the end of the half, but they're just going to be on a half buy because they've got no money. And so, exquisitely decides to buy his teammate a rifle instead of buying armor, which is unfortunate that sometimes you have to do that, but it is great team play to see someone doing that. And in terms of ults, that Brimstone's one away, so they might try and fight for an orb, especially if he has lineup. It is a great way to just kind of secure a round, and we can see, I think CSU recognizes that and is trying to make sure they can't get this orb. And exactly what I was talking about earlier about CSU pushing through these smokes, and me saying that it wouldn't be a great idea. CSU is doing exactly that, and it's working out great for them. Maybe unlucky timing for Mizz, and Leon's behind the entire enemy team. Unfortunately, he gets picked off with some bad timing there on when he decided to look at the Viper. There's an argument to trigger discipline. There's an argument to, oh, just take the free kill. I think right there, trigger discipline was the right play, and it's just unfortunate timing. Exquisitely does see that they're there. They hear that they're planting on site. Cypher's going to rotate over, and now they're in a 4v5 retake situation. They do have better guns by a long shot, but they're going to have to push into a U-Haul that has a Bucky in there. Why are you getting a pick immediately? And now why are going to try and has to fight the Viper? They're NACE pushing in. They know that they're going to know that there's at least one U-Haul. Why are you getting 3? Can he get the ace? Why are you pushing in aggressively? Getting 4? Can he get the 5th? Oh, Camino does take the last, but that is an amazing play by Why you getting 4 picks and winning them that round. And now they're going into this half, 9-3 with a lot of momentum on their side. And CSU, from what I can tell, has an amazing strategy for attacking on bind. Every time I complain about bind being an attacker-sided map, I watch CSU just kind of run through the attack on bind. Not an amazing IGL who just kind of seems to know where all the enemies are every time. Can kind of just, he studies them, he figures out where they need to go, and then you see them ping on the map to go fountain. And NACE being on the other side of the map just to try and get some information. These first few rounds sometimes can just be about trying to pull information from the opponent. And especially on such a defender-sided map, trying to figure out where the Cypher likes to play, where he likes to put trips, where the opponents like to play. Now this strategy by CSU, throwing this cage down, I think they learned this from the last team that they played against. It's to try and dodge like a Sky Flash or something like that. Sky Flash, a Fade Eye. It's a great little look. Unfortunately, the Sky saved her flash, and Flash is there. Nice flash by Why exquisitely getting in there. Them getting 1 pick, but 3 of them getting picked off. And now they have very little information, and are gonna try and plant the spike on a B site. Or they're going for a wrap. Interesting. Mizu's gonna know that they faked that plant tap, and now they're gonna be peeking of 4 Mizu players, which is not a great look, but they do get 1 out of it. And now, does exquisitely try and V-peek this? He does try and V-peek it, and unfortunately, he cannot do it. And now, CSU is going to be forced onto a save. We are seeing a Sheriff being forced out of Camino, which Cypher's abilities on attack are typically a lot less useful. His cage is still very strong, his trips you can put for flank, but they're not nearly as strong as using them on defense. Versus like a Fades like Dogs, the Prowlers, or a Yoru's Teepee, or a Yoru's Flash. Those all have a lot heavier of an impact on attack. So it does make sense the Camino buying the Sheriff, even though he does have a Battle Pass Sheriff skin. I will stop talking about Camino skins now and talk about the game, as B-Dog does pick off exquisitely immediately. And now they're slowly moving their way up into A main. They are taking site completely. Now, are they just going to try and play V-Take as a team for Mizu, or are they going to try to push in? And it seems like CSU is actually going to be the aggressor here. They do get 1, but then they get picked off. And I was up to Camino in a 1v3, and unfortunately he cannot pull it out. Now, CSU, that was a save round, so they were expected to lose. Getting the plant down does give every player on their team an extra $300, which is an extra $1,500 in econ. which is a lot of money. It is not to be understated. It really does, like, now Camino can buy abilities as well as buying light armor rifle. Which sometimes is, like, just enough to really win you the round. As right now you're going to be going into 1 Guardian, 1 Outlaw, a Spectre, a Ghost, and a Sheriff. And so, some of those guns are very lethal. So there's not just a free round. And Camino actually choosing to buy heavy armor, which does make a lot of sense, as an Outlaw does 140. Which, when you have heavy armor, is not a kill. It leaves you at 10 HP. But when you have light armor or regen armor, that is a kill. And so now we see the Brimstone trying to take some space in showers. YU and NACE push all the way up. Both getting... NACE and Exquisitely getting hit by an Outlaw. So both are going to be very low on HP. Actually, NACE may have been hit by something else. But both of them are one-shot. Not a lot of health to work with. The Brimstone, enemy Brimstone, also being knocked to one-shot. And Leanne picks off the Brimstone, which makes it a 4v5. And 2 low health players is typically better than 1, what's called, max health player. And Camino getting another pick off in A main, which means now they're going to push hard into sight. They do have a lot of space to work with. Leanne probably going to smoke off Heaven, and now they just have a completely free sight. They are spamming towards... Camino gets a pick through the smoke. Leanne pushes through the smoke and gets another. And can Leanne get the last? Bubs does get a pick off with his molly, but YU finishes it off. And now CSU kind of swinging the momentum back their way. They have enough to full buy again, it looks like. As long as Exquisitely buys light armor. Or Camino sticking to that Bulldog. It seems like this game he's been liking the Bulldog almost more than the rifle. I mean, it's technically in the rifle category, but like... It 10 out 1 tap to the head. Unless you have no armor at all. And so we can see some early aggression coming out from the side of Mizz onto Camino. And Camino trying to take that fight, but then backing off a bit. And now Exquisitely is gonna see one. Unfortunately, gets picked off. And now it is a 4v5. Camino getting picked off. Leon getting a pick back, though. And now it's gonna be a 3v2 on this site. Leon getting the pick off on Stim is a huge pick. Because he's swinging it back to even. And unfortunately... He's picked up, but Leon getting another. Leon getting the Brimstone because he wrapped around through U-Haul, and now it's a 2v2 retake for Mizz. And all fades in a really almost ready position, and is gonna try and push up a bit. Might get timing, gets timing down Bubs instead, and then now just a 1v2 for the Sky. Now Leon holding that long angle and getting 4 kills for CSU that round. Sometimes, when the rest of your team is kind of going crazy, and you're sitting down there negative, you know, you just gotta pop off, just to make sure everyone knows that, like, hey, I'm a good player too. Pulling out the Tactibear, trying to flex it off, you know. And so now CSU is going into a bye round versus Sheriffs. Sheriffs, again, 1 tap to the head, anywhere between 30 meters. And so it is sometimes just as lethal as a Phantom. Now CSU pushing pretty hard into long, as Cypher is gonna take first contact with this Skydog. And now, are they gonna expect this Viper to be sitting here? They do fade out in the sight, they do see nothing. Exclusively getting on top of the box. They ult the Viper out of that position. Camino getting the early pick, and now they're pushed into elbow. And now, YU's gonna push in a little bit. Brimstone, Leon getting a pick, Leon getting 2 picks, 1 through the smoke, getting 2 more to finish off the round, and now it's 12-5 match point for CSU. Now, it is going to be rifles versus rifles. And Valorant, very momentum-based game, and Bind being a very momentum-based map, but I'm gonna be honest, this looks like a map for CSU. It seems like Mizz just cannot figure out how to hold sight. And CSU just kind of walks in there and wins it. They've got the proper util to get in there. But, in terms of ults, they did use an ult. They used 2 ults last round. And now they're going to be running into some ults. And now Camino getting a little bit aggressive. Does get forced back. Sees that they're not pushed up. And now Exquisitely is gonna have to fight. Leanne getting the trade off from Exquisitely. Camino does get picked off, but now they're gonna know that it's a 3v1 onto this Brimstone. Ryu's gonna see him first, it seems like. And can this Brimstone do anything to stop this plant? It's seeming like he cannot. Ryu pushing through the smoke. Gets the pick off. Leon getting another pick, and now it is a 3v1 for this Viper. And now they do not have information on where he is yet. But it is a very hard spot to fight in, and Knots gets the pick off to win it for CSU. Now that is a great match for CSU. CSU, especially on their attack, they did not make it seem like it bind with a defender-sided map. It very much so looked like Ryu and Camino just kind of ran away with the game. Leanne went from 6-10 to 14-10 in 2 rounds. In 3 rounds, sorry. To really bring back that entire point of the game. And so it really felt like a team diff there. Like, it didn't really feel like any one player on CSU was really falling behind. And felt like a lot of players from Mizz were falling behind a bit. But it is game 1. I'm pretty sure that is the map pick for CSU. Considering I always see them play bind. Yeah. Thank you. So as you heard our producer say, CSU is playing defense on Haven next. Haven, a 3-sided map. Something that CSU seems to do a little bit worse on compared to the two-lane maps. There's a lot more rotation, a lot more spreading out, a lot more defaulting. We do know that on Sunset they like to do these 3-1-1 defaults. We send 3 players to kind of watch one angle, and then the other 3 players to try and take some space on one angle, and then 2 players in the other 2 lanes to try and just hold space. And the more map control you can have on these big 3-lane maps, the better. Because on the 2-lane maps that are really small, you can rotate really fast and take space really fast, and there's a lot less you have to clear. If you do not hold space on these big 3-lane maps, then things get very isolated in what options you have left near the end of the round. And so we'll see if CSU can change that. I'm assuming Haven was not their pick. Especially because they're getting to choose what side they played on. And CSU getting defense first. If you go back to play, cool, we're still an observer. Yeah, we'll see if Mizz can make any adaptations to what they need to do, because it felt like they were trying to hold bind without Sentinel, and sometimes it just doesn't work. The double control on bind didn't really feel right, but also sometimes it's just better players. Like, I don't know the ranks. I don't know like how good the other players are, because we are really only expecting CSU players. So for all you know, it could have just been like, oh, just a massive difference in rank. But then CSU kind of just rolled, and so it didn't really feel like a strategy difference. It didn't really feel like, it just felt like, oh hey, when a 1v1 happened, CSU won a lot of them. And now, not to say there's anything wrong with CSU's strategy. Again, not very good IGL. Very good. They're writing jokes in chats about doing 1v1 Shilong. We're gonna have about a 1-minute break as a player is in the bathroom right now, but in the meantime, let's talk about what CSU did right. I tend to talk a lot about what CSU did wrong because it is very easy to like. Those are very easy things to notice. But CSU won like almost all their ones, and even a lot of the ones that they should have lost, they were winning those. CSU seems very on point with both their aim in terms of their just general knowledge of what's going to be happening at the time. I'm supposed to say positive, but if Noth had wall hacks and just knew all the enemies were at all times, wouldn't surprise me. He always seems to have reads on them. In all seriousness, though, it is kind of crazy to me that we have all this information for where the enemies are going to be, and sometimes it just seems like they just know that as well. I mean, I've stood behind them. I know that they don't have wall hacks,
Yeah.
but it's like sometimes like how do you know an opponent was going to be there? It's just like
so crazy, I guess.
And so we'll see if Nos can keep that up though, because these 3-lane maps is just a lot more to worry about. Haven especially having 2 lanes to enter A, you can just kind of hold from sewers that line, and then it makes it just one place. But if not, then you have 2 different entrances you have to hold, as well as having to hold C from both garage and from holding C from both garage and from C long, as well as B just being kind of open typically. Now, granted, B is very easy to retake on, but it just makes it very easy to both take and retake. And so there are ups and downs to all the different sites, but CSU, we'll see if they can adapt to that. We are excited to see. And I personally have been loving what YU has been doing with that Yoru. He has been going absolutely crazy. Yeah, it very much so. All these players are much higher level than I am. But YU, whenever I'm watching him play, his aim just feels like exceptionally higher. Yeah, it very much so seems like you see Bubs changing his profile picture. It seems like we are getting into it. I saw the start button flash. Oh, no, that's just not leaving the practice range. Cool. Seems like we are ready now. Seems like we'll be getting into it. CSU will be on defense first. And we're going to see if CSU can hold this down. But again, very open map, a lot of big rotations, but those big rotations both can help attack, but it can also help defense sometimes. Making it very hard to rotate both for attackers, but also for defenders. Sometimes if you take a gamble wrong, you can just end up losing it. And so, we'll see CSU bringing out the double... Oh! They're all hovering Yoru. Using kind of a fairly standard comp for over there on the attacker side from Mizz, where they are running the Breach plus the Silva, both pretty standard picks. Omen can smoke all sites from anywhere and can look very well. Same with the Cypher, having amazing chips, that unbreakable chip on C long, just being able to hold Garage on his own from C, as well as his camo just being so strong in so many positions on this map, holding very long sight lines. The Jet is very standard, just to have that, being able to get in and out very quick, being able to scout out areas with the updraft and their dash, being able to get out safely with the cloud. I don't know what Jet Cloud is called. With their smoke. Being able to cross through A long to get to sewers. Well, all those make a lot of sense. You see the Silva's the same on both sides. Camino still running that Cypher. You see the Omen being the same. But then you see a ISO and a Yoru. And it seems like these have been kind of fairly standard picks with CSU so far. Exquisitely kind of doing a lot with that Yoru. I typically see him on the Waylay, which is cool to see him and YU switching it up. Not doing his like bread and butter Silva, kind of what everyone knows him for, and exclusively gonna send a teleporter. Looks like to A, try and help out with the A site if anything goes wrong. I think that this will go to heaven. I mean, it looks like he's looking to get aggressive onto site and buying his omen a goat. Peeking out and then instantly backing up from grass. And now, why are you getting pushed out of B site as they're pushing into B hard here? And now the paranoia coming in from Omen. Why you gets one, but then gets picked off himself. And now, Exclusively is going to take a fight. Leon getting a pick and then getting out. Leon getting aggressive with it, and Leon getting another one. And amazingly played by Vikes. Leon getting that pick and then getting through that smoke got such a weird timing to the opponents that they just weren't expecting it. And now CSU, again, just like last game, going up into the first point, up 1-0, gonna have good guns versus enemy team's no guns. It looked like Panda for a second there was thinking about buying a Marshall, but that is one thing about the Marshall and the Sheriff, that they are one shot to the head, even with heavy armor, and so it can be very dangerous for them to run that. And it seems like they're going to try and run up B again. And this time, CSU seems to be a little bit more ready for it, having 2 on B site. Now they're putting that center smoke down, which is very hard for CSU to work with. And exclusively getting the trade and then getting out. And now it is a 3v5. With Jet in the backline, exclusively getting picked off. Knocked and now it's just up to Leanne. Leanne getting flanked from behind from Garage. And unfortunately, they just lost their buy round. That is putting CSU in a massive deficit. They are going to be saving for this round, and unfortunately, we're going to have to see what happens with CSU losing their buy round. And now we can see Exquisitely's YU is buying a Bucky on ISO. Is a choice. But it seems like they are gonna run into it. Now you see Knox getting a little bit aggressive in the smoke, trying to see if anyone's gonna push into it, as he may be able to catch them off guard if they do. But he backs out as the smoke's fading away, and now they're stacked in this A site where Mizz wants to go, which could be very advantageous for CSU, as they're throwing a fake smoke towards Garage, but CSU is not going to take that bait. They are still holding strong on this Garage, on this sewer angle, and now they're all gathering up in long, and they're going to send the Cypher alone into sewers, where he will have a rifle. But will that rifle be enough in this close range against these guns? And it seems like he will get one. He will get two, but Leon gets his gun. And now Knott's getting one. Cannot get the second, but gets him low. And so now they're flanking. Leon and Camino are flanking with a Bulldog. Unfortunately, does get picked off, and now just up to Camino. Camino in a 1v3 with just a pistol. Does have the Bucky now. But is that Bucky going to be enough to... Oh, an unfortunate timing with switching to the pistol. CSU now going into a 1-2 deficit. But they have rifles now. They are going to be playing against Mizz's rifles. And we see that CSU took a gamble on A site, and it seemed to work out. They got, what, 3 of their guns out? 2 of their guns out? And on an eco round, so I think that's all you can ask for. And now we're going to see a bit more of a default from Mizz, it looks like. As they're slowly trying to work their way up grass. They seem to really like pushing this Garage. And Camino's going to have to fight off half their team on his own in Garage. Now, they've made it past Garage, and now they're already on the C site. And now Camino tries to take a peek, cannot get anything. Leon taking a peek and missing. Why are you getting 2 though? Getting 3 from logs? And then gets picked off, but leaves Knox in probably the best position he could have into a 1v2 retake. I guess it's not retake yet, as they have not planted yet. Nos may be able to get a timing, as he's looking in the different areas that Omen could be. Does get the Omen, and now he's in the 1v1 all, but B-Dog does pick him off for B-Dog's first kill of the game. And now CSU in a weird position. They, again, are going to be forced onto a little half buy, buying Stingers, actually more of a save, buying Stingers and Shivs. And they are, it's going to be a hard one for CSU to keep holding. Now, us Haven and all the other three site maps are very, very attacker-sided. And one bit of momentum is sometimes all you need to win the game. And now we can see the ult coming off from Nox, unable to get anything off of it, but it's going to need a lot of information from that ult, that they are not over on the A site. And I was trying to take a little bit of space with his drone, doesn't spot anything quite yet. Camino, I think, spotting the Omen right there, and is wanting to put a camera out. Does see that there's some there, and so decides to back up. Nox and Leanne getting aggressive with these guns, and unfortunately it will not be enough. Leanne having to teleport out of there, and now YU's backing up because that Cypher ult's gonna say where they are. And now Mizz see that A site is open and is gonna try and rush over to A site to push out as hard as he possibly can. And now it is just up to Ursa exquisitely to hold this with a share. And now he does get one, but unfortunately cannot get more. And now Leanne trying to push back in. He's probably going to throw that default smoke. Oh, he throws a close smoke to try and get in. But cannot get another. What is ISO's barrier called? I guess I'll just call it a barrier. His wall. Wall allowing them to get in. A timeout starting by YU for CSU. Now this makes a lot of sense. Taking a timeout after losing 4 rounds in a row, right as you're going into a bye round, is very important. Resetting the mentals, make sure everyone's mentally okay, make sure that you can figure out what needs to be done, what's going wrong. Because something's going wrong. Losing 4 rounds in a row, especially losing your bye round, there's something going wrong. Something needs to change, and so figuring out what needs to change in this minute timeout, a minute is a lot of time to be able to just talk about stuff. And so getting everyone's mental reset, giving everyone talking about what needs to change is very important. And so we can see that they are doing pretty good on ultimates. They've got 3 ultimates ready to go, 1-2 away, and then NOS ult is very far away. But the enemy team has 2 ults ready to go on top of 1 ult that's 1 away and then 1 ult that's 3 away. So fairly similar in terms of ult economy. But they're going to have to win a couple rounds in a row for this actual economy to come back. And now you can see YU lining up to get that. Can I check ability? I can check ability. His undercut. It vulnerables them, but it also stops their abilities, which gives you some time for I think 8 seconds. The vulnerable undercut. Mizz backing back up to mid. And it seems like they're gonna try and push C long, which we have not seen them do yet. The Omen ulted in the backline and then picked off the Leanne, which puts him in a 4v5. And now CCS plays it super slow to try and figure out where that Omen is. And as long as that Omen stays alive, the enemy team will not know any information about the Omen. And now, YU going for an ult does not see anybody. And now Camino's going to be running into 3 of them garage. Nox does get a pick. Nox gets 2 picks. Nox gets picked off after that. And now it's up to YU and Exquisitely, both the duelists, to try and take this. Now, YU gets picked off. Exquisitely gets 2. Now, does he know where the Cypher is? He's trying to take a guess on gamble on where the Cypher is going to be. Bub's not taking the bait. And now YU's going to have to stick for at least half. And gets the pick, but does he have time? He does have time. Well played by YU, winning that 1v3 right there. With only 0.47 seconds left. The weird tidbit of information, if you guys didn't know, when that white circle first appears, that outer white circle, that is 8 seconds left, which is exactly how much time it takes to stick the spike. Each half of the spike stick is 4 seconds, and when the outer circle starts looming inwards, that is when you have 4 seconds left. Which is how casters are able to tell, oh hey, this is going to be stuck, and now Camino's gonna see some early information. Gonna know that they're pushing into C-site hard, and is able to get out with his life, and now they're gonna have to do a 5v5 retake, unless some early picks happen here. And Mizz not taking a lot of space, they're just kind of holding the space that they have, which is not very normal on C-site for Haven. Tend to see a lot of people trying to push in a little bit more, trying to hold a little bit deeper space. See, exclusively getting a lot of information with this ult, and then flashing himself, unfortunately, and then not getting a kill, but then getting picked off himself, and the Vest team getting picked off, and leaving Camino in a 1v3. And now, can Camino do exactly what Wyu just did? With a worse gun? We will have to see. He might also just get a rifle and try and get out to save. It does seem like that's the decision he is going for, which does make a lot of sense. Having that rifle is very important. It is a win condition for a save round. And even though Camino only has $600 now, he gets a rifle to work with. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Valorant economy is similar to Counter-Strike, but if you save, you will not get the same amount of money as if you just bought. Or as if you just died to Spike or died to an enemy player. So him saving that rifle, he would have gotten 2,400 if he had gotten the rifle, if he had died. But instead he got 1,000 because he decided to save the rifle. And now, a lot of aggression coming out through A, while CSU took a gamble that it was going to be on C site. And unfortunately, that gamble is not going to pay off. And so now they're going into this 5v5 retake. Which so far, CSU has not been doing great on those 5v5 retakes. Especially when they have these pistols, it just really is going to be very hard for them to do. But, it seems like there's going to be a fight in this backline here. Exquisitely tries to take a fight from Heaven, and unfortunately gets picked off. And now Camino tries to take a fight, Wyu tries to take a fight, both of them get picked off, and now they're going to try and push through CT. Can they do much from CT here? It is going to be very hard to push in. They're getting backed up from utility. Not taking this time to reload, but now it's going to have to push through a smoke. Takes a shot with the Sheriff, does get the one with the Sheriff. And Leon pushing out, trying to push in with the Stinger. Pushes in with the knife, gets past the Cypher. Kind of a silly moment, but getting 2 guns off of them is still worth it. Especially when you had nothing to lose, and they had rifles to lose, so a good trade. Noth coming out with his signature Odin is one of my favorite things to see, because his dart can reveal people through the wall. When you reveal someone through a wall, you can fire at them with an Odin, because it does more penetration than a rifle. So, what we often see is him, exactly right here, you see him lined up on the shoulder's head as if he has wall hacks, just gonna spam through this wall. And does get that shoulder down to 1 health. Why are you getting a pick? Let's flash over to Wyu real quick. Why are you getting 2 picks while Squiddly gets picked off? That's a 2-for-1 trade for them. And that shoulder is at 1 HP because Notch did that Odin at the beginning. And it seems like Not's gonna see the Omen pushing him through mid. Mino's gonna take a fight with Bubs here, or is Bubs gonna back around? They seem to be gearing up to try and hit B site. Now, Leon's gonna be stuck here alone until Knots decides to rotate over. And so Camino's gonna have to take, or Leon's gonna have to take a 1v2. Bubs picking off Knots there, which makes it a 3v3. And now they're fairly spread out, except for Mizz is all locked together, trying to rotate what seems to be A site. Seems to be kind of confused on where they're going to rotate. They're trying to take a little bit of space everywhere. Maybe trying to bait out some rotates with this Cypher. Cypher grabbing the orb, which will give him ult. Which means they will have full information on the enemy team, as the Cypher ult reveals all enemies to your team. And will we see the Cypher ult coming out here? We will. So now CSU is probably going to have some information that they're going A. So now they're all going to have to play together. CSU, why are you picking off the Omen? Loses a 1v1. But now Omen's in a bad spot, and now it's a 2v1 for CSU. Now, can CSU pull this off? They should be playing together. And they peek that together, and they get the trade. And that was a very important round for CSU. If CSU had lost that round, they would have been back to another save round. And then they would have been forced into... probably going up another 2 rounds to the enemy team. And so that round really swung momentum back towards CSU. Now they still are going to be on a little bit of a save. Actually, they're still going to be on a full save. But, again, these sheriffs, these stingers, they're very deadly. Why are you opting to buy a rifle and light armor instead of saving? Now, carrying this momentum is sometimes very important. Trying to carry, like, any bit of momentum you can into future rounds is sometimes exactly what you need to win the game. And now they're taking a gamble there and stacking on C site, and it seems like that gamble might pay off because they seem to be hitting C very hard. And Mizz all getting paranoid, Jet getting in there, getting 2, and enemy server getting another one. Now it's a 2v3, but they seem to be backing out of C site. And now NACE seems to be somehow knowing that they're backing out of C site only as a sheriff, but unfortunately, it looks like they're going to push into A site instead. Now, NACE has a great timing here. Some great little bit of movement, try and get around there. But unfortunately, the Cypher chip is going to catch him. Now, he can jump over it. And it seems he will. Now, did he get that to the point where Mizz did not hear him? He might have gotten that timing. And now, the Omen pushing in. NACE does get picked off. And now it is stuck Leanne in a 1v3. And with only a teleport, not much he can do. Getting stunned, getting fired at, and unfortunately, that round does go to Mizz. CSU in a risky spot here. They do choose to buy an operator when their entire team cannot buy. Which is something, if someone in my ranked lobbies did, I'd start screaming at them. But CSU, this game, very different than my, plat ranked lobbies. Actually, they're gold ranked lobbies now, but you know, they used to be plat. Yesterday they were plat lobbies, but now, couple unfortunate games. But, we're gonna see what they can do. Oh, they are getting bombarded with utility. Why does get to cross and does not get hit. He still has his shield and has the ability to fight. He is going to get spotted here, unfortunately, and so now he's going to have to take a fight. Now, the Omen is able to help him, and does he get out? He does get out here, and gets a pick while he's leaving. And now, exclusively, he's going to hold this angle tight with an op, and Camino's going to run into the enemy Cypher, and unfortunately, Bubs comes out on top of that, but is very low on health. And now Bubs is holding this B angle while the entire rest of the team is running to C. And it seems, again, like NACE just knows where they are and is reading this. Well, now he can hear them, but gets the pick off on B-Dog, and now is going to be very wary of the one who was mid. Gets the ping off onto Stim. Bubs getting the pick off on Exquisitely, and Leon getting the flank and getting a kill, and now it's a 2v2 retake, but the Cypher is very far behind. Now it's a 1v2, Cypher very unknown on information, and so the Omen's gonna have to play this very slowly, but doesn't have that much time because the spike is pinged down, and does know that there's one in Garage, and he's going to try and stick it. No, he's not. Gonna try and play and does get around that smoke and gets 4 kills. Well played by Leanne. And now, this half is looking a lot better. He does pick the operator back up, which means CSU is going to be going to this next round with an operator. Should have enough for at least 3 players to buy. They're doing good on ultimates. Both teams having 2 ultimates, but to be honest, Omen ult, not really an ultimate. I personally think that's the worst ultimate in the game, but the Jets in my game like to make it seem like Jets ult is the worst ult in the game. Well, the Jets on my team. The Jets on the enemy team always get an ace with it, but... And the Mizz pushing very hard into Camino. Camino unable to hold it when that Jet just dashes above. And now, why are you getting 2? Why are you almost getting a 3rd? And now Smoothly trying to hold this with an op. Gets horrible timing with that unscope. Leon getting a pick. Smoothly getting picked off. Leon getting another. Leon trying to peek for the 3rd. But Nos gets the flank from Garage to make it a 5-7.5. Really bringing it back from going down 4-1. Winning that pistol round, then going down 4-1. That timeout really just shifted momentum for them. They won that round after timeout, and then pushed back to try to win 3 more after that. It was 1-4 at that timeout, and then it was 4-3 after that timeout on rounds 1. It really did do momentous things for CSU. And we see the scoreline looks very different than last game. Last game was a lot of Camino and YU just kind of pairing the game. And now Leanne decided, no, it's my turn to shine. And now that Camino's doing bad, I can blame it on his skins. And you can see CSU, Leanne putting that one way down. Pretty standard on C when you're trying to just take some space. They've got Util on B. That is a Cypher chip on B I've never seen before. That is wacky. It goes from main to like deeper into main, so you can only shoot it from the right side. It does get picked off. They are gonna know about... Camino does get a pick on the Omen, and now Camino about to take another fight with Bubs. Bubs gets it swiftly before he goes down though. And now it's a 4v3. Now this Omen taking the fight against Soba Sushi. Leanne getting the pick. And now it is a 4v2. Camino going for a big wrap here. Are they going to expect this? Probably not. Gets a pick off on Big Dog. Gets picked off himself. And now it's a 3v1 and CSU can hold it. And now CSU looking in a very healthy spot. Actually, I should knock on wood. Last time I said that same thing about their buy round after their pistol round. But they should... This time, it seems CSU, they can, as long as they do not run into a stacked site, which will just be a 1 in 3 chance, really, they should be fine on this round. Because on the attacking side, taking eco rounds tends to happen a lot more, because you can choose what site you decide to do a 5v1 on. And it seems like they're getting aggressive on C. Going C makes a lot of sense as you have the much longer range rifles, which is their very short-range weapons. But it seems that they're rotating back away from this. It seems that they do not want to fight this. Camino getting picked off. That was only their ghost, so it's not that big of a deal. And now, why are you getting very aggressive with knife out running in? And now, getting this aggressive with a rifle is very dangerous, as if the opponents get this rifle, that is a win condition for them. But it seems like YU is going to be safer with it, going to back out a little bit. They are aware of the Omen being heaven, so they're Mizz is pushing up very slowly. So there's gonna be a fight between Exquisitely and Panda right here. Exquisitely does get picked off, and so now they're gonna have to worry about enemies from all over the place. And now 2 getting picked off. Seems like this is the same thing that happened last time, but Nos really trying to make sure that doesn't happen again, but unfortunately Nos gets picked off. And yeah, the same thing that happened in the previous round. They just got overwhelmed. Lost a couple ones to guns that they shouldn't have lost to, and then just spiraled out of control. And now CSU in a rough spot again. They did save a little bit more money this time. So they are going to have like a decent half buy here, where they're going to have probably 3 stingers. but putting the team in a very rough spot. It seemed like CSU didn't want to burn utility there to try and just win out by using their rifles. And then when Mizz decided to use their utility, they ended up winning the round. But we will see what CSU can do now, as they're going to try and scale their way up mid. Leon taking the fight against Panda, while getting in there but getting picked off. And now the triple getting Leanne and Knots planting instantly. They tend to like doing this a lot on their eco rounds, as they instantly get that little bit of money. And now Knots pushing into the Cypher. Is he going to be ready for it? And the Cypher is ready for it. And so now Exquisitely does get the pick off, so he does now have a rifle. Has a rifle and 125 health. Which, again, one rifle can be enough of a win condition. And Exquisitely getting one, and then Camino getting two after that. Camino going crazy there to hold them that round. Showing that these sheriffs can do just as much damage as a rifle if you click on their head. And that is one thing that Camino can do very well, is click on people's heads. And now Mizz is in a bit of a half by here. They've got two rifles and a guardian. And then two sheriffs. Which will slow down a lot of their firing power, but not all of it. And you can see that Jet pushing all the way up through window. About to fight Leanne instantly into the round. 1-for-1 trade. Seems to be beneficial because that was one of the three rifles that one of the two rifles that Mizz had. Makes it very, very harmful for them. Versus it was only one of the five rifles for CSU. And now Utility coming in strong. They do know that shut the Cypher trip down, so they know Cypher is right back there. That is one really useful piece of information from that uppercut. From that shuts down Cypher's abilities, is that when his abilities get shut down, you will know that he's over there. Nos getting a pick off. Me hitting the wrong button, so we flip away from Nos as he gets a kill. Why are you taking the Silva down to low health? Silva taking the ult down to make sure that they cannot tap the bomb. And giving Exquisitely time to peek. But unfortunately that will leave Nos with not really enough time to defend this. And even though he does get both of them, he does lose the round. Leaving CSU in a bad spot economically again. They're back to another half buy. They are able to buy 4 rifles, but it seems like they're going to opt to try and save their money instead. Potentially. Or Leon's gonna buy a Spectre and full armor. Yeah, it seems like they're trying to force out some firing power here. And Leon standing here with his knife out. Camino taking a lot of space into B. Very quickly. He's into B site. Panda getting 2 of our players on A long, and Camino getting picked off, and it is just not in a 1v4 now. Now this is an impossibly hard situation for Nox. And not seeming likely, but I have seen crazier things. And again, he's got, what, a 1.46 KD in comp right now? It's a lot better than my 0.98. And you see he's getting one pick there. Tries to get the pick all stunned. But unfortunately, stuns are not just cosmetic effects. Well, they're not when other people use them. Every time I use a stun on an opponent, they seem to one-tap me. But, and it seems like Nos is going to use their second timeout this game. Now, this timeout, another important one. Sort of similar to the first half. They did take one round in between there. They took their eco round. And it's kind of curious what CSU wants to do here. Because as you can see by this ult economy, Mizz has every ult in the game. They're one away from Breach ult, but they've got 4 ults. And CSU, they're close to Yu's ult, which he's probably not going to use on a eco round. I would love to see Yu use it on an eco round and win with the classic. It would be awesome to see, but I do not think that will happen. I'm assuming he's gonna save it for a rifle round, which means realistically the only ult that they're like even close to and like contesting with would maybe the silver ult or the omen ult. And so CSU's got a lot to work with. Or not a lot to work with. They have very, very bad guns. And they just can't seem to get a read on Mizz. I always talk about not having like this like perfect reading ability. But lately it's just kind of seemed like it's turned off today. And so we will see what CSU is able to do here. They are buying a lot of stingers, which is my favorite way to play the game. You just 5-man stinger rush in the garage. And have no concern for your own life and just assume that with 5 stingers, one of the enemies is going to die and you get a rifle out of it. And exclusively getting picked off early. Not getting a lot of damage to the Jet. Jet does get picked off, and now they do make it into a 2v2. And so now Leanne does have a rifle, and Camino has a bulldog, tries to take the fight with Silva, but unfortunately gets picked off. And now it is just up to Leanne. Leanne in a good spot. They do not know he is here yet. Or do they? Because they seem to be very wary of Garage. And now Spike is over on the ground, and unfortunately he gets picked off. And now CSU going down 7-11. 2 rounds away from losing, but they're back to real guns. Valorant, no matter how much people like to joke around about the precise gunplay, is a game about gunplay. You could have the best utility in the world, and you still get milliwatt by a guy who's just a higher rank than you that can aim better. And so we will see what CSU can do with these rifles. As you can see, it's pretty standard. Nox is throwing out his dart to just break that safe utility, and then back up to just try and fake, so that way they have the potential to go C later in the round. And now Camino doing his standard lurk, trying to take a lot of space. Well, they pushed all the way up into A main, and now they're gonna get some early information onto this. They're getting breach ulted, and while you picking up the enemy Omen, even if he does get this kill, unfortunately he does die here, and now it's just up to Camino in a 1v4. And now you can see he's aiming in, trying to get that pick off, getting one, might be able to get a second one. He hears the Silva jumping up there, takes a fight on the Silva, does get the Silva, and now it's a 2v1. He does not have information on the Cypher, but unfortunately cannot kill the breach. And now putting CSU in a very tight position. They're forced to buy up as much as they possibly can, with not great guns, and just try and brute force their way into a win here. Down 5 rounds, you need a very big streak. Now, if they won 2 rounds here, the enemy team would be back on an eco round. And I don't want to say it's a free win, because every time I said the enemy being on an eco round is a free win, but it's a much higher chance at winning. And now they're trying to push into A site fast. It seems like they are going to be running into a Cypher setup, but the Cypher is all alone on A. So if they can do this, it will be very hard for Mizz to hold it. And now they do get a 1-for-1 trade, and they do have the full rifles now. So it's 4 rifles with 4 rifles. Now Noth is going to try and Silva ult. Does get one. The Omen getting out of the enemy Silva ult. And now it's a 4v3 retake as Leanne gets a very nice pick off. And now Yu in a tight position. The spike is planted for many, many different positions. And now we're going to see what happens when they end up peeking out through long. Yu getting 2. Yu looking for a 3rd, and Leon gets it. That was a huge round for CSU. They just gotta do it 4 more times now. And actually, they do not have 5 rifles. They have 4 rifles, and they are probably going to try and fight for this A long orb to try and get Jet her ult, which would realistically make it 5 rifles. The Jet ult giving you 5 bullets or 5 knives that are essentially Vandal bullets that can one-shot to the head, but are fully accurate when you're moving. And now we will see what happens with Camino as he might try to contest this. He does not. He lets them have it, which is good because that was 3 enemies and a lot of util. But a lot of util invested just to get that ult. And now we see they're trying to make their way up B. Trying to make a lot of noise making their way up B. Camino's still trying to, like, kind of look his way onto A site. Does get spotted, so unfortunately has to back out. Or maybe even decides to go along with that. Exclusively getting a pick off on that in garage. Was that in garage? Oh no, that was B. Crazy little spot there. And now Leon making his way into sight. They do see while the opponents are because of the Cypher ult. And so they are going to be able to push in a little bit. And now Wyu taking a very aggressive spot in garage. Is this breach going to peek out? Camino getting picked off by Bubs. And now that does give them the ult. They are going to see what all CSU players are. And now is a 2v2 for 1v2 or 2v1 for CSU. And they're going to need to plant down on the A site. Now where they decide to plant is actually a big decision here. They just decide to plant here safe or as fast as possible. And now, unfortunate timing for Bubs, but very fortunate timing for CSU that they both peek out as soon as he pulls out his camera. And that is going to be 9-12. And now Mizz is forced onto a save. Exactly what he was saying here. They just need to win 2 rounds and Mizzou's on a save. Which means there's really one more rifle round that they have to deal with. If they win this round, Mizz is back on a buy round. And they win that round, Mizz is going to be back on a save. Well, I mean, they're going to buy up because it'll be last round anyways, but Valorant being a very momentum-heavy game, making it very hard for comebacks to happen, but also, once they start happening, very hard for these snowballs to stop. And now, they're gonna know that they have C-Site for free. Cypher even taking space up in garage, and now they get a plant down for C-Long for free. They do not have any information on where the opponents are, though. It's a very, very precarious spot to be in, but all you have to do is hold a site. And most people are able to do that pretty well, except for the Cyphers in my games. And it seems like the Cyphers in this game as well. As Camino gets picked off, but Leon does get a trade right back. And now there's 2 of them stuck in this corner here. He's gonna paranoia one to the other. And then, Wyu using his ult just to get out. And winning the 1v1. And now, Nott's trying to protect his body. Not doing a good job protecting his body. Leon getting a pick, Nott's getting another. And that is the round for them. And now, it is going to be rifles versus rifles. This will be the last real rifle round. If CSU can pull out this round will push them to overtime, almost guaranteed. I should knock on wood, because every time they've had an eco round, stuff has gone wrong, but you know what? That's kind of been true for both teams. Both teams have been kind of struggling against these eco rounds. And you can see Mizz pushing very hard out of garage, catching Camino off guard, and unfortunately that's going to push him instantly to a 4v5. And Nott's trying to take their space back, as he doesn't know what they did after they did that. But his team pushed all the way into A site, but with no spike. And it seemed like they were just doing that just to try and bait out rotates, and it seemed like it worked out very well for them, as the entire Mizz backed out to try and stop A site. And now they see the drone coming through B. They think that they don't get spotted. And this might try and be a fake to try and force Mizz to try and rotate back to B. And it seems like they're still going to have a site for free.
Over there.
But as we know, every time they've retook, they've completely dominated on these retakes. So it's not to be counted out yet. both teams having their Omen ult. Exquisitely gets a pick, and Leon gets picked off by Bubs. And then Stim gets another one on Exquisitely. And now NACE getting a big flank coming in. And now just up to Wyu. Wyu trying to peek but cannot get it. And now we will be going to a game 3. What a crazy match of ups and downs. Truly just lots of big back and forth. At any point, the momentum could swing in one team's favor, and it just kind of seemed to stay on Mizz's side more than CSU side. Next we're gonna be playing Sunset, which is, I think, to CSU's advantage. CSU tends to do very well on these more defender-sided maps, on these more like tight, very small, very defender-sided maps, only having 2 lanes, having these big choke points that you really can't get past without like very well executed takes. And especially Camino liking that Cypher being very strong on Sunset, as well as he plays Vice. Vice, another very strong character on Sunset. The Vice walls seem to be a little bit tricky though, as they don't always just like to put him on a choke point and then just use him as like a wall to stop that choke point. CSU tends to like to use them as like almost traps, as like they'll be sitting in a space like off to the side of the map and you'll just get caught inside of it. So we will see. They typically tend to take a little bit of a bathroom break afterwards. So there might be a small break. They might also just go right into it. I assume CSU probably wants to talk about their strategy going into the next game, because both teams kind of kept losing their buy rounds. It was very strange. It kind of seemed like they really wanted to make it seem like Stingers were overpowered. So we'll see what CSU has to say about that. Because especially on Sunset, a very close quarter map, especially like trying to push into any of the sites, you can force these really close range fights. It makes it very hard to. Makes those eco rounds like matter all the more. And especially on Haven, which seems to be a fairly open map. There's the exception of like Garage and Sewers, but the rest of it's like a very open map that typically Vital should be winning on. Just those retakes with the Stingers and the Sheriffs seem to be working very well for them. And things flashed, so I thought they were going. Oh no, Twizzly is in the range, so I assume that they're taking a bathroom break real quick. I was gonna say, can we go to break real quick? Because I'm also going to take a little break real quick, and we will be right back. Alright, well we're getting right into it with the character select screen of CSU vs Mizz on map 3, Sunset. Sunset, very defender sided map again. Having a very open mid with very tight lines of sight on site. See a Cypher coming out from both sides, which does make a lot of sense. This Omen and this Breach and this Silva seem to be very standard for the Mizz side. They seem to very much so like this setup. And then Neon coming out from both sides. Neon, one of my favorite characters. Chugging like 2 monsters and then just running it down as Neon. Kind of my favorite way to play the game. Probably not the healthiest way to play the game, but my favorite way to play the game. And we're gonna see the Waylay coming out. Now this setup from CSU side almost more seems like a ranked setup than does a coordinated setup. Having a Clove, which is typically seen a lot more in ranked, as her utility tends to be very selfish. Kind of lets you int into sight and then just still be able to smoke, which works out very well for ranked, as well as having a self heal and that sort. But Leon, very good player, has been doing very well lately. So getting him onto more of that like duelist type character may be exactly what CSU wants. And also Sunset, the only real choke that you can smoke is that B main choke. That A main choke, you can't really smoke it off. As that more enables them to push in one at a time, isolate fights with each of the angles one at a time. And so it makes it very hard to smoke that. You can put a one-way up on both A main and B main, but you can do that as Clove either way. So it does kind of make sense to have that Clove in that position. Smoking mid, very strong for attackers as it cuts off a lot of information as teams love to push mid. It's very safe for attackers to push mid as you can push from both tiles and you can push from bottom mid. Seems like both teams are just trying to feel each other out. You see, Waylay might be taking some contact. CSU pushing a lot through mid, picking off that Silva, nice early pick, and exclusively taking a fight into the enemies on A main, and it's now 1-to-1 trade, so it's a 4v4, and that Neon just getting in there. Neon getting picked off, so it's not working out for them, and now we'll see what the CSU can do to come back. The 3-for-1 trade there, and now the 2v1 is a 1v1, Camino versus the enemy Breach. Both players having not a lot of util, but a lot of time to work with for both players. And B-Dog planting in a very open position. Is he going to expect the Cypher to be pushed all the way up an elbow? He is not, and Camino gets the pick off to take the round. Very important round win for CSU, as that last loss had to have been a lot for them. Almost coming back into just being shut down in that last round had to have been a rough one, which is why being able to take the momentum back instantly into the game, Camino clutching it out for them. Momentum's got to be running high. Hopes is got to be running high here. Not even hopes. That feeling, that vibe, just the good vibes of winning the round, especially in a clutch position, enough to bring the team back together. And so now, Camino, as you can see, he likes to do this with Vice as well, putting the chips more off to the side. And now Neon's going to get run down into Garage. And this has happened to me so many times as Neon. The enemy Neon slid under the door and then got rubber banded back. It is one of the most frustrating things. You cannot make that timing as Neon. I tried like 100 times in a custom game with a buddy. That timing you cannot make from the barrier to make it under the door. You get rubber banded back. It is... Sorry, that is a personal gripe that I get so frustrated at. Anyway, Notch and Leanne here trying to slowly take some space back before they do the retake as a 5v5. Sim very low on health but has a bucky here, so it has the potential to one-shot. Exclusively gonna see that silver drone, but is gonna back up away from it. Does not want to get spotted by it. And now, when that smoke goes down, there's going to be a lot of chaos going on. They do see the Neon, they pick off the Neon, and now the Y is in sight, cannot get one. Camino gets picked off, Noth gets damage onto the Cypher, but gets picked off himself. And now Camino in a tries to isolate a fight with a cage, and now just up to exquisitely, and unfortunately cannot get it. And again, we're seeing these eco rounds are just going to the favor of Mizz. It seems like both sides just really like winning those ecos. And so now it is going to be a save for CSU. The same kind of unable to retake for CSU has been happening so much today, with just these eco rounds killing them. And so now we're going to see what CSU has cooking for their eco round. As it seemed like last game was eco round versus eco round. Back and forth between who can win their eco rounds. And now Leon sitting in the smoke, in the middle of the smoke, with a classic. Can he do much? Doesn't seem like he's gonna back out. And now you see pushed up into B main is both Waylay and Exquisitely and Wyu. Wyu's gonna try and get a little more aggressive on this, while Noth's gonna have to fight 4 of them. Now, is Noth gonna be able to get much? He does see the one, is thinking about jump peeking, but decides to go against it, and jump peeks, but then gets picked off. And now it is a 4v5 with them having complete control. Camino getting the pick off on Bubs, actually. And now getting a Bulldog out of it. Camino has been deadly all day with his Bulldog. Especially on Bind, where he was just going crazy with a Bulldog. It almost seemed like he should have a Bulldog rather than a rifle in his hand. And now we can see Camino slowly pushing in, trying to take space and elbow. While they're about to explode out their smoke, get stunned off so they don't peek yet. Wyu making his way slowly up through long. Camino getting pushed back by that paranoia. And now they're getting smoked off again. Camino trying to take a fight. Does get 1. Does get 2. Has gotten 3 this round. They're gonna know both of them are alley. And now he's taking the Stinger, trying to push into them. Leon getting a kill, and Leon getting 2. And again, both teams just winning their eco rounds. It is absolutely crazy that neither... 0.01. That... Maybe I started speaking too soon, but, that was a lot closer than I realized. Yeah, 0.01 seconds away from losing that round. I've never seen it that close. That is crazy. And now it is back to, well, now both teams will have full buys except for a Bulldog and a Guardian versus a Bucky. And now they're pushing into A very hard here. Wyu getting stuck out of position, Exquisitely getting a pick back and then getting out. His team getting him out of there. And now can Camino and Exquisitely hold this? Leon's rotating over. They are up a player, but that's so Noth is just gonna hold over on B site. Does not realize that the entire enemy team is on A site. And a 3v3 with them pushing into them should be advantageous to CSU. And now still having all that information on B site. And now Leon might see one here. He does not, but he does see the information coming out. Camino getting one and then getting out. Leon getting the other. And now it is a 1v4 for this Sova. Soba Sushi. In the first game was not doing very well. And now last game seemed to be doing a lot better. And now, can he do a 1v4 retake? It seems he's more just going to try and get back and save that rifle. Which makes a lot of sense, as it is very valuable to have that rifle. But Camino does pick him off. And CSU pushing Mizz to another save round. And knock on wood, that this should be a fairly set in stone round for CSU. Yeah, every single time I've said that it's been a set in stone round for CSU, they've lost. But this time they actually only have 3 shares. They're not running into Stingers, rushing him down garage. And it seems like, but it does seem like that they are going to all run into one site, which is Mizz's favorite way to play these eco rounds. You would think that CSU would start trying to adapt to it, but it seems like they have not. And now that Dart is going to get some information. And now they do know that they are pushing in. Leon getting an early pick, which is very strong for them. And then Nas getting a timing, getting 2 with that spray transfer, exquisitely getting another one. And now it is a 1v4 situation for the enemy Omen, which is now, it seems pretty set in stone that they are winning this round. And now Leon getting a little bit aggressive, does get picked off. And now it is up to Nos to take another one. Panda getting another one. He is very low on health though. And they do have an op, which is sometimes hard to play off of with trades. But he does get a... Oh my... I should stop saying stuff. I should really stop. That's crazy. Yeah, that was 3 rifles and op versus a Marshall. That was, honestly, if I'm CSU here, I'm taking a timeout. We're recovering. That's gotta be a mental killer. But these players typically have a lot stronger of a mental than me, considering they were able to climb up to Immortal, climb up to Radiant. But we will see what happens here. It seems both teams are on buys again, except for Exquisitely has a Stinger, but has his ult available. So at any moment could turn into a rifle. Leon holding a very, very tight angle here. While the Mizz is kind of just trying to feel it out, figure out where the opponents are. It seems like they're trying to gather back up through B, try and take a hit onto B. And slowly taking a little bit of space. Leon smoking off B main, almost as if he knows that the opponents are all there. And now they're getting smoked off market. They have very little information, but they are just blasting into B site. They just took the entire site. There could have been some ratting around, but they wouldn't have known it. But unfortunately, there's not for CSU. And now CSU stuck in a retake. And now Exquisitely getting deep in there. Is Exquisitely going to use his ult? We will have to see. Because this ult can sometimes swing the entire map. Just a big old taser. Breach ult coming in to stop any help of a retake. Omen teleporting up top, make it very hard for them to try and peek together. The Sova ult coming in. Oh my goodness, there's so much that went on. Leon just kind of killed all of them after ulting. The Sova decided to ult while they were peeking them, and it got them the round. And now Mizz back on a save round, which is not a secure round. We have very much so learned that. That it's still like a 50-50 apparently. So actually, CSU hopefully will have enough to buy next round after they lose the save round. I'm kidding. It does not seem like Mizz is going to try the normal strategy of just all running down one lane. Oh, nope, they're all running down mid. While you're getting some early space, which will actually make it very hard for Mizz to get it. Leon getting a pick early. Leon probably going to get another one here, as it seems like they're going to peek him. They might send some util down so that way they can peek him safely. And no, they just use that util to get out. And Leon getting the pick anyways. And now they're trying to push through main to try and get some picks. They are getting the eco frags. And now Bug's getting one on Wayu. And unfortunately, Camino's not going to see the Neon. He is going to see the Neon. And now there's a 4v1. And now the round is set in stone. I'm no longer going to say the round is set in stone until the last enemy is actually dead. But now CSU economically is doing amazing. Even if they lose this round completely, they have enough to full buy with full util. They might be missing a little bit of util or buying a couple light shields, but they have enough to full buy again. Which means they're in a very secure spot. Now again, very defender-sided map. Valorant's very momentum-based. And Exquisitely instantly getting that Cypher cam down. While you getting pushed on very aggressively. Gets a no-scope with the op. And is probably going to get picked off here. Yes, does get picked off. But getting that no-scope, sometimes it's just enough mental damage to knock him down. And Valorant, just as much a mental game as it is an aiming game. And now you see Mizz slowly trying to back up, trying to work their way back through their spawn, take a little bit of space, back towards A site, or B site, and it seems like they're gonna try and end B. They may try to wrap back through mid, but with no information, it would be very hard to try and wrap back through B. And now, Cypher is gonna see the Omen moving very fast through there, so he is gonna know that they're gonna try and push on the B site. And now, does get the pick off on one, and is gonna get spammed through, but gets a little bit of damage on his way out. Or he does not. I was wrong about that. Nas getting a weird timing, trying to push in. Nas getting one, in position to get another. Is stuck in a 1v2 now. Unfortunately, does not realize Bub's position and just focus on where the breach was, and loses that round. Now for these ults, they did use the Omen ult there for that. And it is now, they've got Cypher ult and Waylay ult for the side of CSU, while Mizz has nothing. All it would take is one real pick from the Cypher, for the Cypher while he's lurking, and then grabbing that orb to be able to use it. But if they do not win this round, CSU is going to be very ahead economically. Now, taking this off in such a short angle is a very uncommon thing. Stim instantly getting Leanne out, and now Camino gonna have to fight Stim while these being rushed through main. The CSU is going to see where all of the opponents are, and they are gonna know that this is a very hard B hit. And now they know that there's at least one trapped in that corner. And now how will CSU capitalize on this? Will Exclusively be able to pick off the one peeking through main? Why are you pushing his Waylay stun there? They think that there's one stuck in that little corner right there. But it seems like Mizz is gonna try and back out and rotate back to A. And now that it's gone quiet, CSU is trying to figure out what to do. Do they do they try and go back to A and take the gamble? Do they just hold here and assume that they're gonna V-hit? Mizz did like to V-hit a lot on that Haven match. And while this isn't Haven, this does still have that third lane of mid.
30 seconds left.
Unlike Bind, which is just choke point after choke point. And they do see that Spike was killed down in mid, which means Exquisitely is going to be able to get a nice timing on these players here. Exquisitely gets one, gets two, and now just Bubs in a 1v3, and YU gets the pick off and cleans up the round. And now only two players on the enemy on Mizz are going to be able to buy rifles. They're probably going to opt to save, and which make this a higher percentage round for CSU. I mean, I bet you if we looked at the stats of this best of three, for both teams, the eco rounds are higher percentages, but they are going to push hard into A site, and is not going to be ready for this. YU misses the shot. Nos gets the pick off. Nos getting three. Nos getting four, and Exquisitely getting two. Nos getting three, and Exquisitely getting two, and finishing up the round in an instant. Seems like they figured out what to do when the enemies don't have good guns, and that's just shoot them. And I thought they were gonna rush harder, so I was watching YU, but seems I should have been watching Exquisitely and Knots, because they just killed all five of them. And that is what typically happens on eco rounds, is that the better guns just kind of wipe them. But now we will see no Cypher Cam coming out from the A side, which tells a lot of information. Exquisitely getting two again before the enemies even have a chance to react. And now the enemy Omen moving into A site for free. He does not have his ultimate, so he's not going to be able to ult, but they are not going to be expecting the enemy Omen here. It's almost as if he ulted into the spawn and got there before him. And now he does get two, but Nos finishes him back off. And now it is a 2v2 with a big play by W Panda to try and bring it back. And now Nos hears some information, hears them running through there, and is now going to go for the pick onto B-Dog. B-Dog does spot him. He does get picked off, and now it is up to Camino in a 1v2. Camino trying desperately to fight back from here. He is 10-3 at the moment, which is an insane stat line, but that means every round Camino's died, they have lost a round. And unfortunately here, it is true either way, but as long as Camino can try and take it, he does take it one, he knows where the enemy Cypher is, he's going to tap the spike, and he's going to try and hold for the Cypher, he's going to try and tap it again, he's going to hold it, he's going to try and hold again, and he did get it half, and is he going to stick? He's going to try and stick, but Bubs does read that he tries to stick. And less than a second away from winning the round, unfortunately cannot get it down. But CSU is still in a great spot economically. It still has enough to buy an operator, and will still have enough to buy next round as well. They will be down one rifle next round if they lose this. Oh wait, this is the last round of the half. Doesn't matter if they lose this or not, in terms of economy, because all the money resets back to 800 for every play after this round. And so now, a lot of early aggression coming onto this B site. It seems both the Cypher cameras are going to spot each other, give each other each a quick little hello. And now, Camino in a very rough spot, getting util dumped on. Leon trying to provide cover fire so that way he can back out. And Mizz spending a bunch of utility and then backing out. Now, CSU has 4 ults right now. And killing the enemy Omen when he has ult, they now have no smokes and they're down in ult. And so they have a lot of information that what Mizz is still pushing into this B site. They're gonna send ultimates in. Both sides are sending ultimates in. It's stunned, cannot use anything. Why are you getting a pick off? Why are you getting another pick? And that is the round for them. 8-4 half. Pretty good for CSU. These, again, two-sided maps tend to favor defenders. And so, it will be a very tough decision. And now, what I always like to see is what Neon players like to buy. So he decides to go for shields and a stun. Oh no, he decides to go for full utility. Which is very different than what I do as Neon, where I just buy a shorty and I run it down. But, there's a reason I'm in plat and they're in much higher level lobbies. You see Notch trying to get a dart into elbow immediately, and that where that enemy breaches is kind of a standard spot to stun from. And now exclusively while you're getting in there very deep, very aggressive. And now while you're getting a pick off in the enemy Neon, and now leading exclusively to kind of sit here on his own, hold this space, try and take the fight. Does get the pick off on Sova. Lots of trades going back and forth. Not's getting 2 in mid while having Spike and now pushing it to a 1v3 for the opponents. This enemy breach is on a weird flank, trying to flank through tiles because he knows that's where Notch came from. And now he's going to back up back through mid and try and retake from mid link. I think that's what it's called. A link. Very hard position for breach to be in. I'm assuming he's got no util. Oh no, he's got full util. If there was ever a time to do it, it'd probably be with a breach with full util. But, again, they play together, which CSU is very good at. They can force his breach into very unfavorable fights, and then he does win 2 1v1s. Gets a big right click off from Exquisitely. And now, is this breach gonna be able, is Exquisitely gonna be able to pull it off? He is able to pull it off for CSU. And keeping it very close there. Getting hit by a lot of breach utility is typically what ends up happening. You get hit by breach utility, you just kind of die because he's breached. Both the flashes and the stuns can make it very easy to isolate 1v1s before it fights in your favor. But now we get to see what they do on this eco. We see W Panda having that Marshall again. I would say this round is set in stone, but last time W Panda decided to do a 1v4 with the Marshall, so the round is not set in stone until we see that Marshall on the floor. As the Marshall is just like a Sheriff, is a one-shot kill to the head, but that instead now can do it from any range, and has a scope. Now they're going to see that there's no Cypher utility on site. They're either going to think that's backside. W Panda getting one with that Marshall already. And now they're trying to take some space. Leanne getting in there. Getting shot through a smoke with a Marshall. B-Dog picking up Camino on that backside. And while W Panda is 1 HP, Exclusively does not see him there. Gets a pick off. Nos getting another pick. Nos getting another one. And Exclusively finishing it off. Keeping it very close on these buy rounds. But they do get to keep a rifle into the next round. Exclusively does have an extra ghost that he could give to a teammate. It seemed like they're thinking about buying up. Like, fully buying up. And just trying to keep this momentum going. It seems that is what they're gonna do. Which is 2 players on CSU, if they lose this round, they will not have enough to buy next round. Which is a big gamble, but if you can win this round, it is a huge momentum swing. Why are you trying to get super aggressive with it? And getting in there, instantly getting out as soon as you see an opponent, but giving Leon all the space to work with, pushing all the way up through mid, and now they seem to be regrouping towards A site to try and hit on A site. But it seems like they have 3 players here, and that Mizz is ready for this. If this Neon can get an early pick, it'll be very hard for them to keep pushing in. And unfortunately, stuns versus stuns, neither team is going to come out on top. And now Wyu's going to take this fight, try and take it a little bit aggressively. Does get the one. Now Nos going to have to fight the other one. Nos, the enemy Neon backing up. Both players backing up. Just trying to feel each other out. It is still a 4v4. But Waylay is 1 HP. So they will die 1 hit of anything. And it seems that they're going to double... Enemy Mizu is going to double up on top of a Link. And that makes it very hard to push into. And with Cypher being down on the attacking side, that doesn't change that much in terms of utility. Smoke's going down through alley. And they're just pushing through elbow. They are deciding to ignore A main and just push through elbow. Exclusively was reloading when the enemy peeked. A lot of utility coming out through Mizu. Leon getting a pick on that player alley. Seems like Ryu's getting a pick onto the 1A Link. And then Leon peeking, getting picked off. And now there's a 3v1 with Bubs trying to take this back. Bubs stuck in a bad shot, but does find the Ryu flanking and then gets phantomed. For those of you who don't know, the Phantom does 140 damage to the head if you're over 30 meters away. Unlike the Vandal, which does 150 damage to the head. And if a player has heavy armor, they have 150 health. So unfortunately, for Bubs, he hit the enemy in the head, and also got hit in the head, and he died first. Which is why the Vandal is better than the Phantom. Don't actually check the stats on that. The Phantom has much better stats. But you know what? Big fight happening early into A main. And again, Panda coming on top with that Marshall. But they do get the pick back off on Panda. And Wyu taking some space in mid and then gonna hold this little ratty angle. Exclusively about to take a fight with Bubs and does get the pick off early. And so now it is a 3v4 retake for Mizu, with CSU taking a lot of space. And they're trying to push into this mid, it seems like. And then Wyu fighting 2 in mid, getting 1, getting the second, and now having to fight the 1 top mid, but Camino coming in from the behind and helping Wyu take it. Looking like Wyu wanting to ult his own team at the end there, just for fun, you know. But don't count your chickens before they hatch. Is that the right saying? Yeah. Don't count your chicks before the eggs hatch. I don't remember the saying. Don't count your... I don't know.
Back at
It's gonna be like 2 AM and I'm gonna be like, that's a saying. I'm gonna wake. Don't count your chicks before the eggs hatch. Why are you getting very aggressive in here? Getting in, seeing a lot of information that the Cypher's there, but they also now know that they have a free site. And now the enemy team's gonna have to retake. They do have 2 ults, and that they CSU pushing a lot into this market push, but unfortunately 3 of them get picked off. Now Camino coming in from the back, trying to take this from flank, and now Wyu in a 1v4, stunned, 1v3, and unfortunately could not take it. Now what CSU often likes to do is, now that they're in this position where they're 1 point away, they are just going to keep hitting sites, straight on. No mind games, no nothing, and they're just gonna keep going until they have all 5 of their ults, and then they're just gonna win by spamming ultimates. Now, some of the ults are not nearly as strong as other ults, but what Mizz is gonna have to do is they're gonna have to spend ults to try and win rounds. And now this is an interesting lineup. I might be stealing this lineup from Exquisitely, because I do not know where this goes. But if this is a good one, maybe a little yoinkers. Oh, that hits both the corners of elbow. That is so strange. That is a crazy lineup. Now CSU pushing hard through mid. I gotta stop talking about this lineup. CSU pushing hard through mid. Getting a lot of space here. Leon does end up seeing the Cypher, or the Sova. Not getting a pick. Camino getting another pick. Now they have a lot of space. Exclusively getting the 3rd pick, and now it's a 4v2. All CSU has to do is hold this round, and they've won it. CSU having 2 ults, both the Sova ult, which makes it impossibly hard to try and tap that spike, and then the Neon ult. Sova ult is instantly going in to get one, and now Neon's both are 1v1ing with their ults, and Camino finishes it off for CSU to take home the W. What a crazy game. Both the back and forth on bind into the 3-lane mess that was Haven onto the what felt like a stomp, except for those that Marshall round on Sunset. It was very back and forth, very close games on all 3 of them. Exquisitely going 19-9. That's in 2.1 KD, something like that. 2.05, something like that. That is crazy. Absurd stat line. Yeah. I see it's 9 o'clock, so that means the other games are probably over already. Which means we will be signing off now. Let's get, today's the 24th. So after this, we will have nothing on the stream. But tomorrow we will be having League of Legends at 7. We will have Smash Bros at 7. League of Legends at 7:30. And that'll be it for tomorrow. But then on Thursday, tomorrow's Thursday. On Friday, Valorant Varsity will be back playing Gleck this time at 6 o'clock, and then Overwatch Academy will be playing at 7 and at 9 o'clock. Those are different days. They'll be playing at 9 o'clock. It's small text. Small text and bad eyes. Yeah, those are fun games to watch. I'm glad I got to commentate them. And we will be seeing you guys around tomorrow. Well, I won't be, but someone will be seeing you guys around tomorrow. Probably Jacob.